Welcome, everyone. My name is Lynette Davis with A&D Media, and I would like to welcome you to this episode of Marketing Superheroines and Superheroes Unite. So, today I have a very special guest coming all the way from the UK, and her name is, and I might wind up messing it up, so she's probably going to have to correct me, but her name is Celia Rizothanasi.
Hello, Lynn, and thank you for having me, and thank you very much for pronouncing the name just right. Yes, it's Celia Rizothanasi. Hello from London, UK.
Welcome, welcome. I am so excited to have you. I'm going to give everybody a little bit of background here. So I met Celia a while ago, and we met in a group marketing program for the Get Clients Now, I believe.
Yes, that's right.
And we have been keeping in touch all these years. So I am so delighted to have you here, Celia. So tell me a little bit about yourself and how you serve the world with your unique superpowers.
Well, first of all, Lynn, can I just say that I absolutely love your very special definition of unique superpowers, of USP. It's absolutely brilliant. I love it. And what I do is I'm a marketer and I love helping solopreneurs get found on the web. And I specialize in LinkedIn, and I'm actually known as the Queen Bee of LinkedIn. So that's me in a nutshell.
Awesome, awesome. The queen bee of LinkedIn. Now, I
Yes.
know, I love that. Now, I know that a lot of my viewers are in the service profession, and we could all use some LinkedIn tips and tricks. So I cannot wait to just delve a little bit deeper into some of what you do with our audience. So what I like to do is just open up a little bit of dialogue um, for those who are trying to use or leverage this particular branch of superpowers, which is LinkedIn, or actually I should say that's a tool, use their superpowers to leverage LinkedIn. So what is your understanding about um, the interaction between, well, let's say for instance, using a program like the Get Clients Now program in LinkedIn?
Yes, that's a very good question, actually. And a lot of people do ask me what is the reason why I tend to focus on LinkedIn. And here's the thing, most of my clients are solopreneurs, they're business owners like you and me. And we have to be very careful with the time that we have to allocate in social media. And I'm a great believer in focusing our attention on the one platform that has most results for us. And I think for service professionals and solo professionals, LinkedIn is the one to focus on. It doesn't mean that you can't use other social media. I think that you get most out of LinkedIn. So this is the reason why I think LinkedIn is really critical. And LinkedIn actually can work with any type of system. The Get Clients Now program is absolutely brilliant. It's all about focusing your attention on the 10 things to do every day, an hour every day, and then you see results at the end of the 28 days. So if by one of your ingredients, the success ingredients, I seem to recall is how it's called in the Get Clients Now, if you focus even half an hour a day on LinkedIn, then you can get a lot of results. But you know, everything on LinkedIn actually does start with a profile. I see sometimes some of my clients are very eager to jump in, start learning how to get leads on LinkedIn, but their profile doesn't quite sell them. It's not really saying the right things about them. One of the challenges is that as LinkedIn started, we all thought initially it was just a place to put our online CV. I mean, hands up, who has done this? I know that's how I was using it back in 2006. 2006. We
Yeah.
didn't know any better. And also the platform has evolved over the years. So it's just taking away from that, CV type of mentality to use it as a brand tool, a personal branding tool, effectively. So yes, it all starts with a profile.
Awesome. And I want to kind of, dig a little deeper because there's two schools of thought that I've noticed with LinkedIn profiles, and maybe you can help bring some clarity, or at least maybe, your own subjective but very expertise view to this. I'll see people who optimize their headline for search, whereas some people will put something creative that explains more about them. Like for instance, at one point, one of my favorite ladies that I truly admire, I kind of consider her a mentor. I believe at one point she was putting on her profile Chief Happiness Officer. To me, I understood what that meant. However, if I were to look for somebody in her specialty, I know personally I wouldn't look up Chief Happiness Officer. So, what is your opinion about that? Do you believe one is more effective than the other? What do you think?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think it all depends on the particular person we're dealing with. So it may well be this lady you mentioned, the Chief Happiness Officer. It's a she, isn't she? I suppose.
Yes.
That all her entire brand on the internet is around that particular phrase, so then becomes her unique identifier. So in this case, perhaps it's a good choice to do it. Overall, I would say, knowing that LinkedIn places a lot of weight in terms of keywords on the headline, I would opt for a keyword rich option. This doesn't mean that we want to write for robots. We want to write for real people, things that do describe us. But we do need to make sure people very, very quickly. I think the test is someone who has never met us, someone who is a complete stranger and just looks up at our profile, can grasp very, very quickly three. Normally, we try to get three components in there. What is it that we do? Who is our target audience, and where are we based?
Excellent, excellent. I'm writing that down. I'll always keep my notes. Awesome. So if that's the case, I wonder, beyond the profile, because since people are searching and they're finding people on a profile, would you say that the profile is the most important component of LinkedIn for a service-based professional, or is it the endorsements or the recommendations?
Well, these are all part of a good profile, aren't they, really? I think the profile is our foundation on LinkedIn. It's, because I always encourage clients to go and Google themselves. In fact, when I'm having my, free initial consultation, that's how I do it. I Google someone, possibly with a keyword, and then I see what comes up on the first page. And what you normally find is at the top three, if not at the top one, their LinkedIn profile is there. So the profile itself is the entire base. Now, the endorsements you mentioned, that's an interesting one, and I think that opinions are divided on those. I don't know about you, I get endorsements sometimes for people I've never met in real life, and I have definitely not worked with them, and I'm not quite sure why they're endorsing me. Maybe they think that if they endorse me, I will endorse them back. So I think that as an idea, it started very well for LinkedIn. I'm not quite sure the actual way people are using it is that incredibly beneficial. Testimonials, yes, absolutely. This is huge. It's actually very useful not only to have written testimonials, but video testimonials as well. Treat effectively your profile on LinkedIn you would, your own website. So your website is your home on the internet, and LinkedIn is its cousin in a way. So how you would put the testimonials on the website, I would do the same thing on LinkedIn. These are very powerful.
Excellent, excellent. Those are some great tips. And actually, I I I tend to agree. I think sometimes it's not so much the tool that becomes corrupt, but the way people use the tool. I'll just put it that way.
Yes, that is very true. That's very true.
Awesome, awesome. So I know personally that I found the most benefit with LinkedIn in groups. However, there are so many groups that we can join, and it's so hard to keep up with posting in the groups and making sure that we're posting to our profiles and even our LinkedIn company pages. So I was curious to get some advice from the queen bee of LinkedIn. What's one of your favorite tools to help us better manage LinkedIn, if you have any at all? Because actually, I have no idea what the best tools are for LinkedIn.
Yes, I think that's a good question. And again, I would tend to tailor the answer to the specific individual I'm dealing with, because we all have our own more specific circumstances. I think you're quite right. Groups is a great way of doing things. But then again, you have this saturation effect. Far too many groups, far too many posts. How on earth do you manage it? On the group side, I would say select a few and tune in. I would create a folder in my Outlook or whichever system you're using, and direct all the communication on LinkedIn into that folder, so you can easily follow it up, so it doesn't become a cumbersome exercise. And then just initially, I would just tune in, see what kind of conversations and where you can participate. Initially, as perhaps asking questions, perhaps contributing, and then posting your own stuff. Just a little tip there, I wouldn't go off posting my blog on every single group I'm a member of on the same day, because what happens is your network will get the news feed under home, where you get all the network updates. They will see that you've gone off in a space of 10-15 minutes and you posted the same article in, I don't know, 10 different groups, and that's just a little bit too much. So I would tailor it specifically. But ultimately having your own group is the way to go. Starting small with existing clients, with past clients, people you meet through your networking ventures, and creating your own group, and you manage it like that. I think ultimately that's the way to do it. Another way to use LinkedIn is by sending direct messages and really connecting with the people you want to connect. And it all comes back to marketing, doesn't it? When I talk to clients for the first time on LinkedIn, I always start the conversation from marketing. Who is your target audience? What are their challenges? How do you solve their problems? So, and these people are in a certain locality, so you can start talking to them in a nice, easy, soft way, perhaps inviting them offline, because ultimately, what is the objective of LinkedIn? And I think the objective is to eventually take the relationship offline. So that's how we do it, just by direct messages, by having your hot short list. You can tag people, and you can have perhaps 5 or 10 individuals that you think might be the very good contacts. You value what they do, and try and build a relationship with those people directly.
Awesome. And I think that that's a great point. And that was kind of going to be my next question, but you flowed right into it about taking the tools and utilizing them. And I just want to clarify something before I even go into what you were just saying. But basically, your favorite tool for LinkedIn is actually within LinkedIn itself, and then kind of using a very specific inbox, which
That's
I know
right.
for me is Gmail. And I do actually have a very specific Gmail account linked to my LinkedIn that's not the same Gmail account that I use for other things, so it's not terribly cluttered.
That's a great idea. That's exactly what I do. Yes.
Awesome, awesome. And you also brought up another good point, because I know some people, I've seen people in groups where I could clearly tell that they were doing what you were saying, and more than likely it's because they use a specific tool to schedule their LinkedIn messages, and so the messages went out all at like the same time. Because I know with Hootsuite Pro, especially with the Pro account, you can add quite a few groups in, into your Hootsuite, and then plug these messages out there. So I think that's something that we might want to be careful to do,
Yes.
because people can clearly tell that you just started, in essence, spamming all the groups at the same time. So I just wanted to bring some clarity.
It's a great point, and
With
thank you for mentioning it. Yes, it's one of these tricky situations. I mean, I love Hootsuite. It's got to be used wisely and selectively, exactly the way you're suggesting.
Awesome, awesome. And all right, so let's go back to what you were talking about moving people from that direct message, that LinkedIn inbox, over into a real life situation, or as much as close to real life situation as we can get, like Google Hangout. Because
Yes.
I'm only here in South Jersey, Southern New Jersey. I always use my own slang here, Southern New Jersey, and you're all the way, and you're over in London, England.
Yes, but it still works.
It does. It does. Awesome. So let's talk about that, because I think a lot of people get really confused, and I'm not going to hang on it too much. But I think a lot of people get, are a bit confused about how to translate social media into real life situations. So could you offer us like maybe one tip on how to make that work? Like you kind of mentioned having tags, and thinking about it in a marketing sense to kind of narrow it down to a few people that you want to reach out to. Could you kind of expand upon that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I think in most cases it's not applicable for all, but let's say you're a service professional and you operate in a certain locality. Now you're in South Jersey. I mean, obviously it won't be that feasible for you to arrange with someone to grab a coffee who lives in Boston, but you have a certain catchment area, if we call it that, and we each need to define our own catchment area depending on our own circumstances. Do we have a car? Do we live near a train station? How far are we prepared to travel to meet someone for a coffee? So that's the first one. I think we need to be quite targeted and very clear in our minds about that. You then search for people in your target audience, so there are other criteria there, but also specifically for that location. You starting to have a conversation with them. It's nice and easy. It's not about selling directly. It's about getting to know them. I frequently may find someone and say, well, I'm noticing you only live down the road from me. Shall we just grab a coffee at some point? And what we do over lunch, just for half an hour, or at the end of the day, we grab a quick coffee, and it's about getting to know each other's businesses. The other thing I would say, and I don't know whether you attend any local networking groups. I was very resistant initially, I have to confess. But once I found a group that I really enjoyed here locally, I may actually say to them, oh, by the way, are you aware that this Thursday morning there is this local group with business owners taking place? Would you like to come along? That's another soft way of actually, making the transition of an online connection on LinkedIn, which is a little bit impersonal, to making it more real. It's less intimidating. It's part of a networking group. It's nice and easy. So locality or location-based search, I think, gives you the key to this.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, actually, I am. I believe that was what we connected on. Neither one of us were were really to kind of go
Exactly.
offline.
We were both very resistant, weren't we?
Yeah, yeah. But I was very lucky, and I think we talked about this before. I found a group that really works for an introvert like me, where they do like intimate networking, where it's only like three of us, and they kind of
Yes.
it's called Power Match here. I'm like, yeah, that could be a great idea for somebody to do that concept over in London.
Oh yes, it's fantastic. I mean, I know that I've started last year really making networking one of my key marketing channels to market, and I discovered that I'm actually enjoying it. So, there we are.
Exactly, exactly. Awesome. So, as you know, a lot of this, people could be listening, and especially, somebody who is a coach or a speaker, and they're listening like, these are great. I don't have time to do any of that, though.
Yes, very true.
So, in your experience, what of these type of activities would you suggest somebody who's just way too busy to do that, to delegate? Because the thing is, a lot of people who do want to delegate, they don't want to delegate certain things because they don't want to feel as though they're not present or they're inauthentic because somebody else is essentially ghost marketing for them. So, you know, um, but there are ways to delegate certain things without losing your brand or your personality. So, do you have any suggestions? And it doesn't have to be extended, maybe just one suggestion for somebody who is just way too busy to do this. What could they delegate to help streamline this process?
On LinkedIn specifically, or in social media in general.
On LinkedIn specifically.
On LinkedIn, yes. On LinkedIn, I think is quite an interesting case because more than other social media, you do need to be a little bit more present. But there's always room for delegation. It could be anything from when you write a blog on posting it or even publishing it, because now we have this new function on LinkedIn, which is brilliant. So this specific action can be delegated and managed. Also, the communication and the messages, it's all about developing a brief that's very clear and specific for the person who is there to help you. You can go through your messages. Clearly, a lot of messages are spam. You just delete them. The invitations, you can have a template of an initial welcome message. Thank you for inviting me. Nice couple of words. So if you can create a system out of the process of communication, there are certain steps that you can definitely delegate. But you do need to keep an eye on how things are moving, because at the end of the day, somebody may send you an invitation. They may not have sent you a specific message, but you actually know them. They just didn't bother sending you a message. So you don't want them off the list because they didn't bother customizing their message.
Excellent point. Excellent point. And actually, that's definitely something that I know that I do with my clients. I do help them create templates to that initial template. And I think that's a great thing to delegate, because that initial conversation starter doesn't necessarily have to be something you need to go in it and do all the time. So I love that suggestion. It kind of confirmed, because it was something I was like, okay, let's do this. But like, it's so good to hear. Sometimes it's so good to hear, like, all right, I'm on the right path.
Excellent. Well, no, but it is very true. In order to make our lives easier, we do need to create systems. Once you create a system, then you can delegate.
I love that. Let's like highlight that. Guys, that's a tweetable. Once
Oh,
you create systems, then you can delegate. It's not delegate and then, it's not the other way around. And
very true. Yes.
you need to create the systems first. And if you don't have the systems, there's definitely consultants out there that will help you create the system. You can't
Well,
have somebody
exactly.
else. create your business for you. It's yours. So I
But
love
what
that.
you're doing for your clients sounds absolutely fantastic. I mean, that is exactly what's needed. And sometimes people just don't have the time. They realize that there is a need for them to do it, but then they need someone like you to say, okay, I'll do this 1, 2, 3, 4 stage process. These are the templates, and then let's run with them.
Yeah, excellent. And in turn, I turn to people like you to make sure I'm doing the right things on the right platforms at the right time. So it's like synergy here. Awesome. So we are coming towards the end. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how whenever I get in these conversations, I get so excited and I want to just keep going. But we have a full day of things that we have to keep doing. So,
Absolutely. Same here. Same here.
so Celia, could you leave us with one particular takeaway or one final wisdom nugget that we can put to immediate use as it relates to everything that we have been talking about today?
Very quickly, I would say make sure you Google yourself on a regular basis, see what comes up, and try to manage your online profiles. And the word I love and I always say to my clients is congruent. Be congruent between in all different levels between the different profiles you have online, be it from the about page on your website to your LinkedIn profile to your networking site profiles, and also congruent between who you are in real life and who you are presenting online. Just be congruent, be authentic.
Love that. I was going to ask too because I'm like, somebody was like, what does that mean? So I'm
Yes,
like,
be in alignment, be true to yourself, and effectively there needs to be synergy. It's a
love
synergy.
that. Love that. Love that. Awesome. Awesome. So, Celia, thank you for not laughing at me asking, what does that mean?
No, no, absolutely not. I mean, it's absolutely right that you asked the question. Yes, about synergy. Thank you so much for having me, Lynn, today. I've enjoyed myself so much. I really have.
Awesome. And I have definitely enjoyed having you here on the show. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Until the next time, take care.